Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day. Now we're going back into r/MaliciousCompliance, but if you have not already, be sure to like the video, comment down below during the video if you see something you would like to discuss, and afterwards consider subscribing to the channel and checking out the other videos. Thank you, let's get right into this content, let's go! Stick to the expenses policy. I had to make a business trip to another city, Brighton from my home, Bristol. There aren't really any decent train connections without going via outer London, and you're talking about a 4 or 5 hour train travel each way. So instead, I decided to drive under 3 hours, and to avoid being away from the family, I got up early and left home at 5 a.m. So I arrived Brighton and need to wait for some colleagues. I know my employer will meet my cost for breakfast up to about £8, so I went to Subway and had a breakfast sub for under £3. I waited for the others, and 30 minutes later they arrived, so I offered to buy a coffee and one for myself so we can talk and plan before meeting our supplier at their offices. Fast forward and the day goes fine. I travel home the same day and come to submit my expenses for £3 breakfast and £2 for 2 coffees, still under the £8 allowance. The finance team rejected my expenses for the coffee as you've already claimed for breakfast. I pointed out it was the same cafe within 30 minutes and that if I had bought the coffee at the same time as the sandwich, they'd approve it. What's more, as I traveled on the day of the meeting from home, I was not entitled to claim for lunch. I was told it was tough and I should stick to the expenses policy in the future. Okay. I've recently returned from visiting the same supplier as before. However, this time I left work at lunchtime the day before to avoid traveling on my own time and ensure I arrived at the hotel during my normal working day. I then had an evening meal with drinks, a nice room in the city center hotel, a full buffet breakfast, and my parking and travel costs all covered. Since I had traveled the day before, I'm entitled to claim lunch as I could not have taken a packed lunch from home, and lastly, since I arrived home after 8 p.m., I claimed not only another evening meal on the way home, but a half day of time off in lieu of the time spent traveling home. At least I stuck to the expenses policy this time. TLDR, I kept my expenses under £5 and got them refused due to not following policy. Followed the policy and the company paid about £400 of expenses. And that's the thing I really do like about the subreddit. The whole thing is basically just instant regret. Don't tell me how to do this. Let me learn, okay? I had a boss who told me not to tell him how to put a computer together because he already knows how and I don't need your unsolicited advice, okay? Strap yourselves in for the background. I am a woman in the tech industry. Do you already see where this is going? Not only was I a tech in this place, I was the tech. The one who trained 80% of the techs, had the highest numbers in district and top 10 in the territory, but I always went by my last name, so everyone who wasn't physically in my store thought I was a male. Due to circumstances, we ended up getting a new manager from another store out of state. His first day was on my day off. My coworkers told me he wanted 2 hours with each of us to learn our thoughts on diagnosing issues, and he was really eager to learn from us. He was especially interested to learn from the top tech who he heard about in his previous store, until he learned I was a woman. He did 2-hour sessions with all the other techs but me. He always went to the male techs with questions. He tried to make me work the counter to just check the computers in when I was the only one of 3 full-time repair techs and we had 7 counter techs. He tried to make me do his paperwork on several occasions. He also started trying to repair computers by himself even though that was not his job. He would leave computers half repaired with no notes and then write up whatever tech he thought should pick it up where I left off. The whole team hated him and started making remarks of, well, OP could fix this if you asked her, or I think OP fixed something similar in an hour and you've been at this for 2 days, and other phrases just to piss him off that a woman knew more than him. This was the perfect setup to one of my favorite moments of my career. Manager got it in his head that he was going to do something to prove he knew his stuff, so when a customer came in wanting a custom-built computer, which we weren't supposed to do, he grabbed the opportunity. He helped the guy pick out the parts, compare prices, and sold him the labor to put it all together. He also told me he was going to build it in my repair place, and he was doing this alone, and I will never forget this. Don't tell me how to do this, let me learn. Oh, I will. Cue the manager putting this machine together on the bench behind me while I continued my work just waiting. Manager has it together. He hits the power switch. Computer turns on and then off, then on, then off. He unplugs and then takes it apart, then together again, same result. I can hear the wheels turning behind me, but he told me not to give him advice, so I keep working with my mouth shut. Let him ask me when he's good and ready. He then believes parts must be bad, so he has the customer send parts back, wait for the new ones, and then try again. Same results. This continues for 2 months. He has the customer, who is obviously very angry at this point, send every single part back, then have a whole new set of have parts delivered. He has promised this customer this is the last time. This time it will work. He definitely knows what he's doing. The day arrives where the customer brings in the parts. The manager is there. I am there. I stop repairing computers as he puts the final part in, and I lean against my bench to watch what is about to happen. How could I not? He hits the power, same result. He is furious. He throws the screwdriver across the bench, denting the wall, and curses so loudly I am sure a customer heard. He puts his hands on either side of the machine, head down, shoulders slumped, utterly defeated. In a quiet, oh so quiet voice, he asks, "OP, what is wrong with this?" The motherboard and processor aren't compatible without a BIOS update. How long have you known this? Since you first turned it on 2 months ago. He turns, he is red in the face, veins are bulging, and I'm pretty sure he thought about decking me for a second before composing himself with a very, very deep breath. Why didn't you say anything then? Me, smiling sweetly, because you told me not to and to let you learn. So, have you learned? He stormed off and out of the store. He ended up taking 2 personal days, and I ended up building a new PC that actually worked. Customer was cool once I explained everything and even showed them how I cable managed to allow the best cooling and looks with their clear case. It's a story that ended up being the legendary story to tell all new techs. I left the company a few months later for a higher paying job, and that manager ended up being fired due to the GM believing him the reason for my leaving. I never corrected that perspective. After all, how else will he learn? TLDR, Sexist tech manager tries to one-up me, a female tech, asks me not to offer advice unless asked for it, and ends up screwing up a custom computer for 2 months until finally breaking and asking me how to fix it. You know, the one thing I really do like about this story is that it's kind of like that little toddler that says, no, I want to do it, so all you can really do is just wait for them to mess up themselves so that they know that they messed up. Experience is experience regardless of who it's coming from. So he presented my project in front of the whole class. This story happened nearly 1 year ago. Backstory, in computing class, we had, like in any other class too, some competent, some incompetent, and some lazy students. The main task was programming with Java, and since I loved coding, I already worked a lot with Java before we used it in school. This wasn't a secret, so many came to ask me instead of our teacher for help. The teacher was already busy helping others, and as kind as I am, I helped every time as good as I can. But after some time, something started. The lazy guys walked through the room and looked on others' codes and copied it. With some time and minimal effort, they made their code working and got through the years. Me, a C developer, ignored most of Java's conventions. I wrote method names with capital letters, handled get and set methods as C-like as I could, so none of mine had a getter set in its name, and so on. This saved my code from being pirated. And now we had our last project. Over more than 2 months, we worked on this, and again, the code piracy started. But since it was a more complex project than anything we had done before, it was hard to copy something completely. It was simply too large to explain similarities. The malicious compliance. Like every time, I have no exact idea when I started around 10 projects and finished 2 large projects and 1 sample. Then, in the last week, one of the laziest came to me and asked if I could make him a project. Since I had one completed that I wasn't proud enough to present, I gave it to him. He thanked me and took it. He played a bit with it to show how it works, and that was it. He doesn't even take a single look in the source code. This meant I used multiple classes, something many didn't understand and didn't use. I used packages to sort my classes, something only our teacher also did. I fully documented my code and used the special documentation comments we never spoke about in class. I used my typical style no one else used since Java shouldn't look like this. Still, it worked fine. I had signed them with my name. On top, I placed all of our projects in our share folder like everyone else, and because of this, my copy was there first. He was one of the last who presented, and like with every project, our teacher asked him to show us some source code and explain parts he was really proud of. So he opened a file, and the first thing was on the information about the author, me. So he told that he used this to build his project on. Our teacher allowed to take parts from elsewhere as long as we mark them as others' work, and opened another file, and the first thing was the information about the author. But since he already thought that this would be there, he scrolled down as fast as he could so no one could see the author. Now everyone could see my special style of coding. He ignored this and made some vague comments which explained nothing. Then he closed the file but kept the overview open. In the overview, you can clearly see the name of the project. Like everywhere else, I also made the package's name more C-like. It was this code name here. This were 2 more problems. First, I signed all my projects with bdev, something obviously no one else would do. Second, in Java, all package names are in lowercase. We never learned with uppercase. Our teacher smiled all the time. He already looked into our project so he could ask if he doesn't understand what we did unlikely, or if he's unsure which grade we deserve, so we could show additional knowledge or not. The first thing he asked was, what does @author bdev mean? I don't know what he got and all, but I'm sure it wasn't great. Edit. Since it came up in the comments, no, I haven't gotten any problems. No one knew that I gave it to him. Like I said above, it's already in our shared folder so anyone can access it. And with that that is going to have to be it for the video. If you had liked what you had seen, be sure to slam that like button, comment down below what you liked about the video, and consider subscribing to the channel and becoming part of the notification squad. Thank you so much for everybody who's been watching, and I will be sure to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.